How tough it is to repeat, huh?
Harold Jensen, coming to the free throw line, is a sophomore out of Trumbull, Connecticut. He was somewhat of a disappointment as a freshman for Coach Massimino. Even earlier this year, he wasn't certain how much play he'd get out of it. But here in the NCAA tournament, he has suddenly become a shooting hero. Air was off balance. It's all right. Harold Jensen has checked into the game for Villanova, number 32.
You have to stay so present to what's going on. But I did feel, as someone who was, kind of, hey, you're a shooter, in a sense, that was part of my role, of course. So when I made my first shot,
Pinckney out away from the basket. Here's Jensen's first shot, and he's on the money. He's a key man for Nova tonight.
When I came in, just a minute or two into the game, touched the ball a couple times, and then was open on the right wing, made a shot. That helped me relax right away.
Less than a game and a half.
Jensen comes baseline inside of Williams and creates a shot.
You do feel some confidence, some comfort in it, but you still just really have to be so focused on what's happening in the moment.
If you're a college basketball fan today, you may know Villanova basketball as one of the sport's most championed and accomplished programs. To say they've reached unprecedented success is to put it mildly.
3 seconds at midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship. The Nova Nation, the national champions, with Jenkins hitting the winner at the buzzer. Jim, they're going to chip.
If you're a college basketball fan today, you may know the Georgetown Hoyas as a laughingstock of the Big East, a perennial bottom feeder that represents a shell of one of college basketball's once most prominent brands.
Yep, I'm talking about the Georgetown Hoyas again. Georgetown's men's basketball team has lost a school record 18 consecutive games.
We're all enjoying the NCAA tournament. Buried in the headlines over the last week was the decision by Georgetown to part with Patrick Ewing as their head coach.
In the 1980s, however, nobody was laughing at Georgetown. In fact, our 1985 season headlined by legendary coach John Thompson and star center Patrick Ewing was among the most dominant in NCAA history. The consensus #1 team in the country, there was no doubt they would win the tournament. At the time, Georgetown was the epicenter of college athletics. A new powerhouse, a new potential claim to the ambiguous yet coveted title of Blue Blood. Their rise was historic, and their prominence would pave the way for decades of elite basketball players and teams. Just after defeating Hakeem Olajuwon and the Cougars of Houston and winning the first ever championship for Georgetown, the Hoyas looked to etch their name in the history books by becoming one of the only teams to ever win back-to-back national championships.
In his own way, lighting that red Auerbach cigar. The first national championship for Georgetown.
However, over in the plush suburbs of Philadelphia known as the Main Line, Villanova was preparing to take their great historic program into an elite one. With such history and tradition and a legacy of great players, Villanova was still searching for that elusive first championship. Not only did this Villanova team have a great squad with 3 future pros in Ed Pinckney, Dwayne McClain, and Harold Presley, they also had the advantage of meeting these Hoyas on multiple occasions throughout that season.
Our advantage was knowing them. Teams that they played in the tournament who had not faced them could not anticipate what it was going to be like, and they couldn't understand what their pressure defense was like. They couldn't understand what Patrick was like, and we had played them a couple times a year. Our seniors, had played them, 8 times prior to then, or maybe 9 or 10, depending on our Big East tournament games. But so there was at least an understanding. Well, not to say we were comfortable by any stretch, because they were tough. And in Coach Mass's brilliance, we used to practice to prepare for them against 8 players. So he would add 2 or 3 players on defense to just simulate how active they were and what that would feel like on the court.
Massimino was a great basketball coach, and his players would argue even a better mentor. His mantra was always family, cultivating a culture in Villanova basketball that goes far beyond athletics still to this day. And while other coaches say stuff like together or culture, Coach Mass meant it. Massimino, though often dubbed a hard-nosed coach who didn't mind telling you how it was a master in getting the most out of his players. Perhaps nobody could exemplify that more than Harold Jensen, a touted recruit that struggled his first year both physically and mentally, but went on to produce one of the most electrifying streaks a performance has ever seen in this game.
I'm probably going to have to hold back tears a little bit when I tell you, because he was so meaningful to me in my life. I had high expectations. I wanted to come in and do well. I wanted to come in and, contribute and be part of the team. I struggled freshman year, had a tough time. And he couldn't have been better to me, to help me relax and kind of find my way and just be able to go out and play. And he spent a significant amount of time with me individually to just help me understand kind of the mental aspects of it, of playing at that level, of accepting mistakes, imperfection and things, etc. So I wasn't frozen when I got out on the court, because at times he would, after a game, he would say, "Look, you were a do nothing. You were fine. You were out there, but you weren't doing anything. You weren't putting pressure on the defense by looking at the basket. You weren't there's so many things going on in the game that he would recognize and point out to me, and then really come and say, look, just go play. We wanted you to come here because we believed in you. So he helped me immensely and sat down, and especially sophomore year when we went on to win the championship. Again, kind of up and down a little bit beginning of that season, and then started to find my footing a little bit, got some more minutes, and I got a little more comfortable. And then when we got into the tournament, he really gave me more opportunity, and that to me meant the world, because it just showed me that, we're behind you, we believe in you, go do your thing out there. So
Bodnax having to help out inside. Jensen puts Villanova ahead at the 2:35 mark.
Ice water in his veins. They gave him the shot and he took it. I think back in that North Carolina game when Jensen came in and really turned the ball game around.
Jensen hit what some would call the biggest shot in Villanova history with about 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go, the fifth make on his fifth attempt. His literal perfection mirrored the Wildcats as a whole. They had the highest shooting percentage in Final Four history at 78.6%. No shot clock era, they only shot 10 shots in the second half and made 9 of them. It would take a miraculous effort to beat Georgetown, and that's what they had that night on April Fools. It's called the perfect upset for a reason. The plan was perfect, but more importantly, the execution was.
The second one that was up on the board was transition. Get back on defense. Do not let them get runs. That's how they beat teams. They would beat teams in spurts. 6 points, 8 points, they'd be up by 6 or 8. Next run, they'd be up by 12. Next run, they'd be up by 20. Game was over, right? So we wanted to avoid any spurts. So it was rebound, transition defense, get back on defense, and then play to win. And don't play not to lose, right? So play with confidence, play with poise, and play with that mindset of a winning mindset versus, being, like you had mentioned, having trepidation and playing not to lose. There's a different mentality there. And he really instilled that in us that night.